Welcome to the Firehouse, the show dedicated to the brave men and women who serve our community.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Firehouse on WRHU 88.7. I am your host, Chris Moses, and today, sitting with me in the Firehouse is my boy K-Mad,
Hello.
Mr. Kevin Madigan. What is going on, brother?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. How you been, man?
I'm good.
Good,
Glad to be here.
All right, so listen, I know you, but they don't. So tell me about the department you're in, what company, how long you've been in the volunteer service. Tell me a little bit about you when it comes to the volunteers.
I just hit my 14th year.
Wow.
Freeport Fire Department.
14 years, Freeport. There we go.
I am finishing up my second term as captain of Hose Company number 4.
Look at that.
We are a single engine house, the only house on Sunrise Highway in the whole island.
Okay.
I've been around this since I was 8 years old.
8 years old. Wow. So that means, were you in the juniors or you just was around because of family?
My dad's a 30-year member.
Okay.
He brought me around when I was a little kid.
Okay.
And brought me up there. And when it came time to be, I could join at of age, and I joined. So it wasn't a question in my mind. It was, I'm ready.
This is the next step. This is the next step.
So, I mean, the guys he brought me around, a lot of them are still there. Senior guys that have known me since I was a little kid. They were at my wedding. They're there for me. We're there for each other, so.
Okay. All right. So I got to ask you a question because a lot of, you just introduce yourself as Freeport and, all of that. But there's a lot of people may not know you from that. They know you from photography.
Yeah.
So a lot of people may not even know that. Some people probably don't even know if you're in the fire services, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, wait, you're in Freeport? So if you want to explain to the listeners exactly what you do and this is a big piece. And for me, you were one of the first people that I knew that did it. I knew there may have been others, but you were the one that, to me, put it on the map. Like when I saw K-Man, I knew like this is the person I'm going. So if you can explain to them exactly what you do.
So aside from being a member of Freeport, I also do fire photography throughout Nassau County, and over the last few years, I kind of go into the boroughs a little bit and Suffolk. So I've been doing that about 15 years. I started off on a bicycle, riding around town with a radio, just going to fires in Freeport, and then got a car and expanded. So basically, what I do is I document fires through still photos. Yeah. From the moment they start to guys operating to coming out. And, some people might go, oh, that's kind of crazy. But, there's times it hurts, like, seeing people upset, losing their house, whatever. But at the same time, it's rewarding. Family members are glad to have photos of their loved ones doing what they do because they don't get to see it. They hear about it. So, yeah, I've been doing that about 15 years.
15 years, wow.
So I balance that around Firehouse, work, family. And the last couple of years go to about 120 fires a year.
Wow. So you're waking up when
of
those
night.
calls come out. So, and just so we could put this in perspective, I'm Uniondale. Even him, he's Freeport, and we had some other people from different places. I think we had a Rosalind on there or something like that. But when they're waking up for their calls, Kevin's waking up for everybody's calls, right?
Yeah. I always say I'll take a ride, you know?
So you're waking up not just for, Uniondale. If it doesn't tone out for Uniondale or it doesn't get over to us as a mutual aid, I'm not getting out of bed. But Kevin is out of bed, getting up, taking those pictures. And one thing that I also want everyone to know, it is not just about what everyone thinks, just vanity. Like, firemen love to be on the camera and show that. There's a lot of times that we've used those pictures in trainings. A lot of times where I know for a fact we're like, oh, look, no, it was coming out the rear, it was coming out there. And now critiques are being used. And I'm pretty sure there's many departments that probably reach out to you.
Reached out, hey, can we get this for training? Of course. That's one thing I love helping with, is training from that. Hey, he saw something we didn't. Or look at, like you said, look at that. I didn't know that was going on back there. Or, there was a victim, or we put a ladder there, we didn't put a ladder there.
Exactly. So now that's also making training and the actual firefighters better at what they do by having these pictures. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service. It's no joke. Like, people don't realize waking up in the middle of the night and now doing it for the entire battalion.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So let's start to, going into, you and your volunteer services. One question that I always ask everyone is, What made you want to do this? I know that you said that you had, your father was there, but what made you want to say, you know what, I want to run into burning buildings? Because that's, if you think about it, we're kind of crazy. People are like, everyone's running this way. We're running that way. What made you say, you know what, I want to do this, and also do it photography-wise, like step up and put your life in danger there?
On the being a member part, when I was 18, aside from growing up into it, I was only going to school and maybe a part-time job around it. So there was something missing.
Okay.
It's like, well, I have time, let me, do something, go somewhere to hang out, whatever. I went to I went to school in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So, my schedule varied, but I'm like, when I'm back home, like, do I want to sit home? If I'm going to do schoolwork, let me go to the Firehouse.
Yep.
Something was missing. It was like, all right, I need another activity in my life. So it was nice to join the fire department,
yep.
and give back and meet people. So, it's the rewarding factor for me, being able to give back.
Yeah, and that's something that people don't realize that, yes, I'm running to burn the buildings. Yes, we're doing that, but it is also very rewarding to be able to give back to your community.
And it's exciting. I mean,
let's be honest. It is very exciting to do that. But it is also, it's rewarding to be able to give this back to, to your community.
I always say we don't sit around and hope for people's property and, destruction, whatever else. But, things happen, it happens. As long as nobody gets hurt or killed, things can be rebuilt. But, when the fires happen, it's like you pull up. It's like, okay, you can't. Yeah. There's nothing like that.
It's nothing like that feeling of pulling up to that house fire at 2 a.m, screaming down, the block to go get there. So 14 years, 15 years doing photography. I know you got some memorable stories, Kev. I know you do. So please, I need at least 2 stories. At least 2 stories. I can tell you one that you probably don't know. There was a fire which we talked about on our last show. It was in Smith Street in Uniondale, and I think I was on the 2nd floor. And I don't know why. And you know how it looks at a scene. Thousands of people out there. Everything's going on. There's, we got firefighters here. I look out the window, and I don't know why. You were the first person I saw, and that is like my memory of Kevin with the camera sitting right there, and I look out the window, and he was right there.
I remember that. If it's the one I'm thinking of, I remember that.
You took a picture of me.
It was right near the parkway.
Yes.
So I'm coming down the parkway, and you could see through the woods. I'm like, every window already.
It's
like,
already
okay, there it is. Don't got to go looking for it. One big U-turn when I got off. So,
and it's funny to me, the reason why it's memorable, because a lot of the times when we go to these fires and you get these pictures, we don't know when these pictures are happening. That picture, I knew when it happened because I looked out, saw you saw me.
I try to be low key. Because I don't want to be like in people's face.
Yeah.
It's great when you get it candid. They don't know about it.
Yeah. This just happened to be like I just saw it, and I'll never forget it.
Made that eye contact.
We made it, and I was like, boop, got it. But that was mine. Tell me a couple of memorable stories, fires, even if you got some stories with taking photography. Talk to me.
So photography-wise, some of the crazier things over the years, are the transit ones you wouldn't expect. So, the last couple of years, you had a train derail in Westbury.
Yeah.
It hit a car, it derailed. That was like something out of a movie.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
There was, it's all the unusual transit ones. It's that. A couple years ago in Merrick, they had a helicopter go down. Seen a couple plane crashes. Not the full size, thank God, but small, plane crashes, which is like surreal.
Yeah.
And no matter how long I've been doing this, there's nothing more surreal than seeing like a legitimate rescue being made.
Yeah.
So over the last few years, it's been like, thank God it doesn't happen much because most people get out. But there's been some departments that you see like grabs being made, and that's, I don't know why, for me, like that's such a surreal moment.
That's it. That's what we do it for, right? Like all this, we want to protect property, we want to put the fire out, but if we can make a grab in there, that's huge. That's huge. That's someone's
seeing
life.
that is like incredible because that's like metal right there.
Yeah, right there.
They're not doing it for that, but you find somebody,
That's right.
Hats off to you. So,
Definitely. Fire-wise, talk to me. There's got to be something fire-wise if you got a story.
In town, the one. I'm not really afraid because luckily most of the things we do is bread and butter. Listen, residential, you go in, goes out, that's it. Craziest thing was probably about a year ago now, April 1st of 2023. Everyone knows we had a warehouse fire full of ambulances.
Yep. Heard about that.
You know, probably like 20 ambulances fully stocked, oxygen, all this medical stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Saturday morning, not a lot of people around. And I was the highest ranking officer in the street in front of the building with a hose line with no other line around.
Wow.
And we had a 2.5-inch hose line. With manpower wasn't like really the issue. It was more, there was so much fire, our line wasn't doing anything.
Wasn't doing nothing. It was just basically pissing on it.
You're looking, it was like, oh.
This is not doing it. And before we keep going with the story, just back up a little bit for our listeners. When you say you were the highest ranking officer on scene, what does that mean for you when you pull up? Just explain to the listeners what that means.
So I was still captain at the time.
Okay.
Which usually the captain of the, whoever has the line, and every hose line has a line officer assigned to it. So there was a lieutenant there from my company, but, captain outranks lieutenant, so I had rank over him, and there was no other line officers there. So I was basically responsible for commanding this line, maneuvering this line, trying to figure out what we're doing, and how it's going, and assessing, are we making progress or not making progress?
Did you have truck on scene with you, or it was just you?
We did, but they were on the other, another side of the building, so we were kind of by ourselves, and it was actually funny because the people that came to back us up on our line and help us was actually a Unidale truck.
Oh, look at that.
So I love that because that was a rare case where you're working with not only another department that you don't normally do, but a truck company.
Yep.
I always say you're never too good to do anything.
That's right.
So even though they're a truck company and they're not really used to maneuvering lines,
everybody will hop in and do what they got to do.
Hey, guys, can you give me a hand? No problem. They came, helped us out. We eventually got the upper hand, but it took some time. That one, we had a couple explosions. You actually felt the street shake.
From them.
Yeah.
You got everything in there. Ambulance, the oxygen, everything.
So, in Freeport's, kind of a crazy department. We've had that a couple years ago. We had a car go sideways into a building, catch fire. The driver was trapped. The building was on fire. We've had that. We had a gas station fire next to my firehouse.
See, I've only seen that on TV. I've never. So explain, first of all, for our listeners, a gas station fire. Heard what he said. So just run through that.
So that was almost 10 years ago now, but that's one of those you're never going to hopefully see that again. And that was like a weekday morning. They were knocking down the gas station. Day one of knocking it down. So what they were doing was removing the underground tank.
Okay. Uh-huh.
It was empty, but it still had vapors. So they cut into it with a torch, and as soon as they did, it lit off.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And before it even toned out or any phone calls really on it, there was a guy already at my firehouse, which is about 500 feet away, and somebody came running up and flagged him down and said, hey, gas station on fire on the corner.
On fire.
Yeah. So they were there for a little while.
For a while.
Yeah.
Gas station is no joke.
These are like the crazy
scary.
ones. Most of what we do,
Bread and butter.
residential.
Mm-hmm.
You figure out, all right, it's in a bedroom, it's in the kitchen, whatever. You go in, do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're in and out. Whole thing's an hour long.
That's it.
Start to finish.
Yeah. Then it's overhaul. Then it's cleanup.
Yeah.
Let's start getting all these hoses that are all over the floor. Let's start cleaning them up. So, all right. So, walk me through a day at Freeport. Now, everyone knows, and if you don't know, if it's your first time listening, Sundays is our day for the volunteers. So, walk me through a Sunday at Freeport.
So for us,
from beginning to end, how's it go?
9 a.m. start.
Okay.
We don't like to see you be late.
That's right. That's right. Very important.
And that's going over all your tools and equipment. Tear everything apart. Is it working? The battery's full. Because that's the time to make sure everything's good. So when it comes time to tones dropping and calls going out, that's not the time to sit there and go, oh, is this pack working? Is this not working? Sunday morning is make sure everything works. It's all good. We're good to go. Everybody helped out. And 9:30 usually for us, we're out the door training. Okay. Whether it's hands-on or going upstairs and doing some type of classroom. But, especially luckily for us, a few newer guys lately, try to get them hands-on, pulling line, making a move, asking questions, getting involved.
And getting stuff. So now, training-wise, where are you training in Freeport? So in Uniondale, we'll go to Omni. Sometimes we'll go to Nassau Community College to kind of pull some lines. Where are you going in Freeport to get that training?
So in our industrial area, we have a dedicated training facility.
That's great.
It's like a 3-story brick building. Mm-hmm. So it's what you put into it. We can't burn in it, unfortunately, because of the state of it, but still, that doesn't mean you're limited. It's what you put. Any training is what you put into it.
That's right. That's right.
So whether it's a smoke machine, blindfolding guys, changing up the layout in there, but we're doing something. And it's a big open area on the waterfront, so we can flow water out of the truck into the waterfront.
There you go. Okay.
And it's also good for training drivers, making sure they're good to go.
Okay.
So that's our area. But, we'll also do walkthroughs of new buildings, pre-plans, going through that, or walking through those buildings.
Which is huge, which a lot of people don't realize that, the fire department does do. It's all about being prepared, right? So doing those walkthroughs, seeing where everything is, because you don't want to first get into a building when there's a fire, right?
And go where the stairs.
Where the stairs.
Yeah.
I've been in this building before. I've seen this before, and that's what those walkthroughs are all for. I remember when it used to be EAB Plaza, but then it became Omni Building. Things changed, and they let us do a walkthrough, and we were able to walk through and see. Same thing with the Coliseum when they took it, and they used to have, I forgot how many seats it was. Then they had to rearrange and cut back. We went in there and took a walkthrough to go see, because for a firefighter, you don't want it to be the first time you're walking into a building. So.
And you're on the completely wrong side of the building or parking lot, whatever it might be.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that. So, got a question for you. What is a common myth about firefighting that you'd like to debunk right now for the listeners? Because there's tons of things that they say we do.
For me, it's that you're never too old to join.
There we go. All right, so explain that more.
Everybody thinks it's a young man's game or a young kid's game. Okay, yeah, you can be 18 and join in a lot of places, 17 in some, but 18 in most places. So when people get to like their 30s, 40s, and they feel like something's missing and they want to give back, a lot of them are like, can I do this? And I go, yeah. Because I also help out with recruitment in Freeport.
Okay.
So, a lot of people are like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm 30, 35, 40. I got kids. I can't do that. I'm busy. Can we make this work? I go, absolutely.
Definitely.
There's a place for everybody and a job for everybody. So you're never too old to do this. Mm-hmm. Every department will be glad to have you and find a place for you. And your knowledge is going to be helpful in some way.
Every step of the way. And that's what people have to, realize. There's, like you said, there's always a place. There's always a place. No matter what your age is, no matter what, we'll find something.
My dad rejoined at 38.
38. Look at that.
He was going to the fire academy with kids that were half his age,
And blowing them out the water, probably.
Yeah. Showing them how it's done.
And showing them how it's done.
We have another member who joined about 5 years ago, in his 40s already.
Okay.
One of the most active people.
Look at that. See? So, with the volunteers, we know you do that. What do you do for a living? And we kind of talked about that a little bit. So if you could just tell a little bit about it, and more so, I want to know, how did the volunteers kind of influence what you do for a living, how you make your money?
So I just hit 1 year as a dispatcher for the police department for Nassau County.
Okay.
So I do that, and we also do the 911 calls.
Okay.
So it's a 2-part job, and I love it.
I know.
I
love getting those calls.
It's crazy, but somebody's got to do it, and
That's
it's
right.
That's a job where you feel like you're making a difference. You go home and you're like, you know what, I helped.
Yeah.
So that was a civil service test, and myself and a lot of people, you always hear from senior guys, take your civil service test. Take the test, whatever it might be. Everything that comes out, take it. It's an experience, and that was one of them. And I didn't think I was going to so I actually had this job lined up 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, and I turned it down, actually.
Turned it down? Why?
Because I was complacent. I was like, well, I'm working in town. I'm working for the village. I got a 5-minute drive to home. I'm doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of bills at the moment. Everything's fine. I was like, nah, I don't want to leave here. I'd head over to the Firehouse, hang out, whatever, And when it came up, as things change in life and you get more responsibility and stuff, work-wise, I was like, all right, I can't see myself being here for the rest of my life. So this came up, and I was like, that seems more for me.
More, yep.
So I took it, did well, luckily, twice on the test. So they called me, and I went through the whole investigation process, and it worked out.
That's
good. The starting pay was rough, but I don't have kids yet, no house yet. So I was like, now's the time to do this.
Okay.
And I'm a little over a year in, and it's going well. And again, that came from the fire department. People saying, take tests, take this. Listen, get out of, this is for you.
And that's something that we want to do with this show is for people that are listening that want to join or thinking about joining. These are the things that you get. You're around, a bunch of positive people that are white collar, blue collar workers, and the connections are there. And even if the connections are, it's sometimes what you just said. Hey, go take this test. Go do this. Those type of nuggets always help. So
there's a lot of people in the fire service that have connections, or they know of something coming up that maybe word's not out yet. Hey, there's the test coming out. Just keep an eye out for it. Right. Or hey, we're gonna need workers here. Or you have these skills. You could do this. A lot of people get jobs through the fire service that turn into careers.
That's right. A lot of people, and then not just firefighters, right? There's different careers that could come. I mean, things that have nothing to do with anything, that had nothing to do with fire service. I got someone that told me about a hospital job, and then I ended up in the hospitals and working in the hospitals. But this was because of the volunteers that was able to give me.
And that's
those
great to
things.
Put on a resume. Hey, I worked in a hospital, because that's not for everybody, and that's admirable.
It's huge. And one thing that I'm pretty sure you can echo this statement. A lot of things that I've learned is leadership. Leadership is a lot. Like you're second time running around as captain, right?
Yeah.
How do you get to tell people what to do and you're not paying them?
Yeah.
It's a skill, really, that you don't realize that you probably have, but you have that. Like, they will follow you into a building, into a burning building.
It's harder for newer officers that don't have a lot of fire ground experience sometimes because, they're like, man, because you can go to a class and they teach you how to be an officer, but actually applying it is a completely different thing.
Totally different.
But, most guys have been around long enough, they start to figure out how roles work.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, Freeport's a very good department as far as it's, what's the word? Everyone knows what they have to do. Everybody knows their jobs.
They know their job.
We don't have people wandering around, looking for something freelance, and everybody knows what they got to do. So the officers know what they have to do.
Yeah.
And you're kind of responsible for your people. So I'm the officer, we get off the truck, and whoever I had with me, we go up as a team and we operate as a team, and figure out where are we at, what has to be done, where are we at with this fire.
That's right. Report back to the chief, let the chief know what's going on, and keep going with your job. That's the beauty of, especially with the fire service, and you get those senior guys, and you get, you look back and you see senior guys back there, this is probably going to run pretty good because everyone knows their job. You don't have to tell them.
It's funny, a quick story for you, and this is actually another one of my favorite stories was as far as getting to tell people what to do and people knowing their jobs. So the first time around when I was a lieutenant, we had a daytime fire on the border of Roosevelt, and it was a fire on the first level of a split.
Okay.
And we pulled up second due. The first company had the first line, we had the second, and my dad was on the second line, and I was the line officer. So I was actually getting to tell him what to do. But I didn't even really need to because, listen, again, everybody knew their job. Listen, that line went that way. We're going this way.
And that's it.
Perfect coordination. But it's
still surreal. Where I'm about to tell you what to do, Dad.
There was that, and one of my other just personal favorite stories. So this is going back a number of years. This is 8 years now. Before I was in office and he was out of office, so we were just regular Class A's. We had two houses that went up next to each other.
Wow.
They were so close that one went into the other one, and they both went up. And in Freeport, you can actually go to a scene in your car.
Okay.
So a lot of guys have gear or a second set of gear, like I do, So we actually both went to that one in our cars. He was around the corner at the store, and I was actually headed out to dinner with family.
Wow.
Actually, with my now wife. We were, just
shout out.
Started dating.
Wife, how are you,
Erica.
wife?
Yeah. We were just starting to date at that point, and it was funny because I was actually going to have dinner with her parents.
Oh, wow.
for like the first time, and I was like,
Hey, you're late.
I was
Like,
like,
not showing
I
up.
was like, you let them know we're gonna be late, maybe not there at all. But her dad's he runs he works at the fire academy, so he understands.
So he fully gets it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So he
So
knows.
going back real quick, I'm like, listen, we're gonna be late, whatever. She's like, okay. So I pull up from one side, and my dad ended up being on the other, and he's in one house, and I'm in the other, and neither one of us knew the other one was there.
Wow, look at that.
It wasn't until we got out, and it was
We're
like,
looking like, hey.
I was like, oh, you're here, and he's like, you're here, and I'm like, oh yeah, So that was like, that'll never happen.
I wish you had your camera with you. You could have took a quick
Somebody had the
snapshot.
picture.
Someone
Somebody
got
had
it?
a cell phone picture of the two
okay.
of us, and actually, there's a picture, a decent one of him
Okay.
going in the one house, and I'm in the other
You're
one.
another one.
Yeah,
That's great.
with
See,
no idea that the other one's there.
That's beautiful. That's something you
And-
frame, put on the wall. Yeah.
And like the volunteer fire service too is a lot of family. It's not just like us at one point in our company. I think we had either 3 or 4 father-son duos
Wow.
as of a few years ago.
Okay.
And I mean, you see it in Uniondale. Uniondale truck has it. It's
My son's in the juniors right now, so I'm hoping one day I'll be able to.
whether it's
Yeah.
father's son or brothers or brother sister. It's a big family thing.
Yep.
Which is great.
And I love that. I love that about the volunteers. So, quick question: what is one piece of advice you'd want to give to someone that's considering being a volunteer firefighter? Like one good nugget you can give them.
What did I have? Hold
There
on, I gotta
you
go back
Go
to
ahead.
the paper.
Go back to the paper.
That's to give it a try and stick with it.
Okay.
A lot of people are hesitant. Is this for me? Do I want to keep coming around? At first it's like, you get tasked with the hydrant.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I signed up just to hit the hydrant. I don't think newer members realize how important that is.
Which is, and I don't mean to cut you off, Kevin, but which is, I think, one of the craziest things that we do in this service.
The newest people,
people get one of the most important jobs there. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, stick with it.
Yeah.
It all works out. It's worth it. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. A lot of people stick it out because, I mean, yeah, the training's a lot. It's a lot to, for the amount of calls that we go to, the fires are not that much, thank God. I mean, and that's a good thing.
Good.
Fires are down, thanks to
Fire prevention.
fire prevention, alarms, people being aware.
Yep.
So for newer members to go to all these weeks of training at the Nassau County Fire Academy, they're like, I'm going to do all this. It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Because when it happens, you're going to rely on that training that you learned.
So, like, for those that don't know, one thing that's consistent is no matter what department you join is everything's through the fire academy.
That's right. Yep.
You're hands-on, and, they're a fine-tuned machine out there. You're in good hands, So it's your hands-on training, it's your classroom, and then your hazmat, and you're, in most places pretty much ready to go at that point.
Yeah. I'm going to get someone out there, on the show. I got to get somebody on the show, from over there just to talk about that portion of training all of these departments. Like, it's a bit crazy.
I mean, I would say thousands of people pass through there every year.
Every year.
They handle, like, different organizations, too. Like, police departments come there for training.
Yep.
And they got instructors from most departments.
Yeah. So definitely. All right. So before we wrap up, I got 2 more questions, but we got to play a game. So I got a game here, right? And this game is called the flashover. Really quick, Kevin, explain to the listeners what a flashover is.
Flashover, that's when everything lights off and everything reaches a certain temperature and that room just lights off. Like
at the same time. Boom. Really quick. All right. So that is the premise for this game. Very quick, okay? So I might ask you something like Android or iPhone. You got to tell me which one you like, okay? All right, but we're going to be doing movies and TV shows, okay?
All right.
All right, are you ready for the flashover?
I'll give it a try.
All right, ready? Chicago Fire, rescue me.
Chicago Fire.
Rescue me, third watch.
Rescue me.
Backdraft, ladder 49.
Ladder 49.
And the most important question I'm going to ask you before you leave, engine or truck?
Engine.
There we go. Boom, boom, boom. That's right. I love it. But since we're talking about movies, let's just this is one question I gotta ask. Us as firefighters, we see this stuff all on TV. What is the most accurate portrayal, and what is the most exaggerated that you've seen, and why?
So most exaggerated is the visibility.
Everyone says that.
They make it seem like I could see you perfectly right now. You're lucky if you could see, on a decent fire, you're lucky if you could see your hand in front of your face.
Can't even see that.
It's using your other senses. It's your feeling and your hearing and just trying to figure out where you are. And that's the biggest thing is remember where you are. Hey, I went up the stairs, I went down the hall, I'm in this room.
Yeah.
But
making sure.
they exaggerate that pretty good. That, and they also make it seem like you're coming across bodies and guys are dropping all the time. It's it's not like that. Luckily, a lot of people get out now. Again, thanks to the fire prevention, the fire alarms, the heads up and stuff like that. People are a lot safer.
Yeah.
So we're not finding victims and guys aren't dropping. And the reason for guys not really getting hurt or thank God killed is training.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a movie, just so y'all know. It's not a movie. People aren't, we're sitting there. You remember, a movie's a movie. It's meant to entertain you. Kevin does this for real, so.
And then accurate is, every now and then we do get something out of the ordinary. Like I said earlier, the gas station, the car into the building with fire. September, I think it was, we had a car into the water with a guy trapped.
Yeah.
We've had multiple cars into the water over the last few years.
And we've seen those on TV. We've seen those on these shows. So
we had a building light off on us 3 years ago, like explode out the front.
Wow.
Everything lit off in a florist
and
overnight.
Boom.
And just, and let go. So,
thank God nobody, I assume, was there. Were you all just getting geared up
we
to
were
go
just
in
starting
there?
to walk up.
And then boom.
Yeah.
Look at that. And doesn't that set the tone for the night?
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
You're trying to get the upper hand on that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so last question, Kev. We're coming to time. Is now you've went through everything, but just if you can, in a whole, just kind of put it together. How has the fire, the volunteer fire service changed your life?
So, like I said, I've met people that I've known for now close to 25 years that have known me since I was a kid. It's given me a second family.
Wow, I love that.
It's kind of like how I ended up meeting my now wife.
Look at that.
We met through other people in the fire service and other departments. When I went to training at the fire academy 14 years ago, there was people that were in my class from other departments that I am still good friends with today.
Okay.
One of them was a groomsman in my wedding.
Look at that. See?
There's ones that I still run into at different departments from all those years ago. The biggest thing is the second family factor. It's given me confidence, to help train newer members and a whole set of skills, to be more practical and also safer at home, fire prevention at home and stuff like that.
You learn all of that. That's
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, listen, Kev, my buddy, thank you. Thank you
problem.
so
Thank you
much
again
for
for having me.
coming. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Is there anything else you want to say?
No,
You want to
that's-
plug anything really quick? What's your website?
Oh, so the website's K2M Photography.
There you go, K2M Photography. Make sure y'all go take a look over there. My listeners that are firefighters, go look for your picture on there. All right, thank you
Thank you,
again,
Chris.
Kevin. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
All right, so we just heard from Kevin Madigan. He is in Freeport about his life as a firefighter. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Please like, share, subscribe. I am your host here at the Firehouse, WRHU 88.7. Please join next week for another great conversation in the Firehouse.